को नुकसान हुआ और ऑल हो गया। तो बोट 2 से 3 मिनट के अंदर तो उसके अंदर पानी भर गया था।
जो नाव के पास में रहे वो ज़्यादातर बच गए थे, क्योंकि उसको टायर थे लगे हुए साइड में ना, तो उसको पकड़ के रखे थे।
Gateway of India is one of India's busiest maritime hubs. And now the center for tragic disaster, a disaster that could and should have been averted. But unfortunately, the harrowing accounts of survivors speak a very different story of lessons not learned from past tragedies. This is the image of a family of 3. On your screens, a young child and her parents were in their 30s. They drowned to death without life jackets. They were among the 120 on board, most of them tourists. 13 of them have died. 2 are still missing. Hours after the Navy craft on engine trials lost control and rammed into the ferry Neel Kamal. The accounts of survivors have been distressing. Mirror Now spoke to several survivors who recount the moments of horror. First up, the account of those who were making a reel on the ferry boat and captured the Navy craft ramming into their own ferry boat.
नहीं बनाया था हम लोग। पहले जो ये नेवी की बोट आ रही थी, स्पीड बोट, जो पहले तो उसने 4-5 तो उसे स्टैंड हमारे से दूर से स्टैंड मारा। तो हम लोगों को देखा कि भाई ये देखने लायक है नजारा, तो हम लोगों ने सोचा कि इसकी रील बनावे। तो हम लोगों ने जैसे मोबाइल निकाल के उन लोगों को रील बनाई। फिर उन लोगों ने 4-5 स्टैंड हमारे से दूर मारा। फिर हमारे बोट से उन लोगों ने जैसे ही बोट है उसकी एग्जैक्टली आगे से उन लोगों को टर्न मारना चाहा, आगे से जैसे उन लोगों को बैलेंसिंग हुआ नहीं, उन लोग डायरेक्ट बोट को आगे उस लोग टकराया। तो बोट को नुकसान हुआ और ऑल हो गया। तो बोट 2 से 3 मिनट के अंदर तो उसके अंदर पानी भर गया था। जैसे बोट थे उसकी राइट साइड में उन लोग उल्टा होने लगा। तो उन लोगों को पानी भरने के बाद किसी को लाइफ जैकेट मिला, फिर वो लोग बोला ले चाहे जैकेट है, किसी को मिला किसी को नहीं मिला। वो अपने आप सडनली
तो कितने लोग थे और कितने लोगों को लाइफ जैकेट मिल पाया? आपको मिल पाया क्या?
100 से प्लस थे लोग और उसमें से 40 से 50 लोगों को समथिंग मिला रहेगा लाइफ जैकेट।
सामने छोटी छोटी बच्ची थी 1-2 साल की, वो भी। उसके बाद में एक फॉरेनर वहाँ पे कोई था, एक करीबन 18 महीने की बच्ची होगी। तो वो घुटनों के बल ऊपर चढ़ रही थी, हम लोग थे ऊपर तभी। तो वो कोई उसको अपने कंधे पे लिया था, तो उसको बचाया हमारे हिसाब से। और सुनने में आ रहा अभी न्यूज के अंदर उसके जो मम्मी थी वो अभी तक उसका पता नहीं चला है।
There were 3 foreigners, including 2 from Germany and 1 from Canada, who were on board. One of them saved that 18-month-old child. Several lapses have come to the fore, from allegations of life jackets, very few life jackets, and some claiming the life jackets were old, of overcrowding of passengers at the ferry boat, and unaccounted sale of tickets.
जो भी बोट में बैठने से पहले सबको सेफ्टी पहनाना चाहिए कि भाई ये बिना पहने किसी को बैठने भी नहीं देना चाहिए, क्योंकि हादसा कभी भी हो सकता है। तो पहले से अगर पहने होते ना तो ये किसी की भी जान नहीं जा, सब बच जाते।
जो बोट में टिकट काटते हैं ना, तो उनका एंट्री होना चाहिए कि कितने लोग बोट में सवार है कितने नहीं है, वो भी होना, क्योंकि उनके पास कुछ आंकड़ा भी नहीं था। जो बोट में टिकट काटे उनके पास कुछ पहले 80-85 बता रहे थे।
जो टिकट देते ना वो लोग सिर्फ डेट वगैरह टाइम वगैरह कुछ भी लिखा हुआ नहीं रहता। वो लोग सिर्फ कूपन फाड़ के देते, तारीख डेट वगैरह कुछ भी नहीं, कितने टाइम में बोट निकली ऐसा कुछ टाइमिंग नहीं।
बता के तो नहीं गए थे क्योंकि उनका फोन स्विच ऑफ आ रहा था और उनका फोन कभी स्विच ऑफ नहीं रहता। फिर उसके बाद जब भी मैं घर पे आई तभी पापा नहीं थे, तो मैंने फिर से उनके फ्रेंड से कांटेक्ट किया। फिर वो सब उनको मतलब ढूंढने गए थे। तो उसके बाद वो ढूंढने गए और फिर वो जो कल इंसिडेंट हुआ उसके बारे में पता चला। तो वो आए थे यहाँ पे, तो उन्होंने पुलिस स्टेशन में देखा, मतलब लिस्ट में मेरे पापा का नाम है क्या, और फिर जो सामान है तो मेरे पापा का था। तो फिर समझ आया हम लोगों को कि उनका डेथ हो गया है।
There are big questions that have emerged. What protocols were violated? In fact, the question should be how many protocols were violated. Was the Navy craft engine trial during peak time or non-peak time at one of India's largest and busiest maritime hubs? Why was overcrowding allowed on the ferry boat with very few life jackets? Who is responsible for all of this? I'm being joined at this point by Ali Daruwala, who's a spokesperson for BJP, Commodore Ranjit B. Rai, who's a retired former Director for Naval Ops, Indian Navy, and Director for Naval Intelligence and author of Warring Navies, India and Pakistan, as well as Utkarsh Dave, who's a lawyer. Thank you very much, all three of you, for joining us. Well, let me first straight up come to you, Commodore Ranjit Rai. How do you look at this? This is, as I mentioned, one of the busiest maritime hubs. There are, of course, a lot of questions that are emerging from both the sides. But how would you look at, as a person who's been very closely associated with the Navy, how would you really look at what's unfolded?
Well, I think you've actually put everything on the table. The survivors have told you what happened. It is an extremely sad event. It should not have happened. But the fact that has happened, the congested area, the port of Bombay, Mumbai. We are going to the naval dockyard. Ships are going to Ballot Pier. Ships are going to Nhava Sheva. And in between, across the harbour, are these boats going up and down from the Gateway of India to Elephanta for tourism. You know, today it's a foreign tourist hub, it's an Indian tourist hub, and therefore it is not clear that the awareness in the public that they must wear life jackets. Well, possibly in this case it is coming out. The life enough, but they didn't put it on. The second, of course, I'm not defending the Navy, not a Navy boat, but it was a boat being tried out for the Navy. So the equipment manufacturers want to show you that their engine and their maneuverability is all going on. But they should not have been doing it off Karanja. What is Elephanta? Elephanta's caves.
Right.
They've got religious idols, which actually the Portuguese, when the guide tells you, they shot at. And then, of course, there's a toy train. So I'm very sorry to say that this has happened. It's happened in... We learn lessons from it. And I think there were no awareness. Fishing boats have been turned into tourist boats. Neil Key of 20.
Commodore Rai, I think your audio is breaking up. There's also breaking news that's coming in. Let me just share it with our viewers at this point. A board of inquiry has been ordered into the accident to establish the facts of the case. That's the latest response that's coming in from the Navy at this point. A board of inquiry that has been ordered into the accident to establish the facts of the case. We'll try and get more, but Commodore Rai, very quickly to you for a minute before I go to the other panelists as well. Were these trials being held during the peak time or the non-peak time? Is that something that we can confirm? Is that something, because from what it appears, it seems to be the peak traffic time. Would you have a sense of that?
Well, it's peak traffic time in Mumbai all the time. Ships are coming in and out. Boats are going. Atal Setu has been made to go to Nhava Sheva. 21-mile bridge, the largest in India, but it goes to Nhava Sheva. And therefore, the traffic between the islands of Bombay, these islands to the British 7 islands, connect them is very difficult. Therefore, now, well, was it a naval boat or was it a boat which was going to be handed over to the Navy? So, I mean, there is some responsibility with the Navy also, because there were Navy sailors on board who have died, I believe. One has died. But the engineers of the company were on board. Now, they were trying to show off, possibly, that my engines are fine, maneuverability is fine, you please buy this boat. And that's what marketing is all about. Unfortunately, the name given is the Navy. I'm not defending the Navy. The Navy should have told them not to focus. As you have the whole open sea, Mumbai is a very, very crowded harbour. It's India, and therefore, at all times of the day, it is crowded. So the Navy has that much responsibility that they have to learn the lesson that even on trials, for God's sake, don't encourage commercial companies to go and do this again. Very sad. Last year it happened in Kerala. Again,
Right.
in India, mishaps do take place. And I don't think there was an engine malfunction. Because if there could be an engine malfunction, the accelerator would have got caught. And therefore, this boat couldn't control itself and went into this. How good was the navigator on the Neel Kamal?
Okay.
Neel Kamal
Okay.
also has to responsibility. Where were the life jackets? What are the safety precautions? And therefore, only an inquiry will say.
Absolutely.
And I'm
There are
glad you're
huge
putting
questions.
everything on the
There
table
are huge
for
questions,
people to get
Commodore. In
aware
fact, if you give me
when
a
they
few
get into
minutes
a boat.
to the very questions that you're raising and concerns that you're raising, let me just get in Utkarsh Dave, who's a lawyer. Good evening, Mr. Utkarsh Dave. Thank you for your time. Now, you are also somebody who's been petitioner, who's fought the cases of the survivors, whether it be in the Morbi case or whether it be Vadodara case. Of course, there are lessons to learn from that, and that's not our focus at this point. What I want to ask you is, what were the glaring lapses right up? I mean, so many tragedies year on year, and you still don't have a seriousness about, one, the life jackets for people on board, two, overcrowding, and three, unaccounted tickets. Tickets don't have a date, ticket don't have a stamp, ticket doesn't have a timing.
Well, you see, first of all, it's a very sad tragedy that has happened. And we all know that Mumbai is a very big harbor. It's a very busy harbor, rather. So, you see, from my perspective, I would only say that whenever, because I've come across to certain things in my past, whenever a Navy conducts such exercise into the sea, it's called an extensive test, which is conducted with the help of the OEM. Now, whenever they conduct such exercise, there are four peculiar things that they have to see that are in order to conduct such tests. And that is the structural strength of the boat, number one. Number two, the sea placement. Number three, the cubic capacity. And number four, the weight of the boat. If these four things are in accordance, are in proper alignment, then and then only a test is being conducted. Whether certain things were being sanctioned by a high-ranked officer of a Navy before taking that killing machine into the sea, we do not have answers as such yet. Number two.
No, let's not call it a
Maharashtra-
killing machine. Let's not call it
I
a killing
say-
machine. Let's be
yeah, the boat that
careful of our
struck-
words. Yes, there was an absolute
yes,
tragic
I am being very
accident.
careful.
There was a
I am being very
tragedy
careful
that
with my
cannot be
words.
explained. But this cannot be a killing machine, Utkarsh Dave. This was a
this
Navy
is a
naval
killing machine
craft.
because we do
This
not
was a
know-
craft that
we
is
do
of
not
huge
know-
importance
we do
to
not know who
the
sanctioned-
India's
who
defense.
sanctioned the
But
pollution.
there are questions about how it was maneuvered. There were questions about whether there were protocols in place that way. So I think there's nobody who's shadowing the Navy. There's nobody who's giving a clear chit to the Navy. There are questions being asked of the Navy, but to call a craft that was not maneuvered properly or possibly a failure at several accounts cannot be called
Well,
a
you
killing
see-
machine that way.
you
But
see-
please go ahead.
You see why I use that word. I'll clarify it to you in one moment. When I say this,
No, I get your point.
Whenever
But
in my
Utkarsh Dave,
state certain tragedy,
I just
allow
had a
me to speak
Commodore
for a minute.
speak about all of it, and you're raising a lot of relevant questions. These questions are definitely relevant, but I also want to shift our focus to try and understand. A lot is being said about the Navy and the role of the Navy in this, the craft in this, and that is something that questions will be asked of. But what about the ferry boat? Can that
I was coming
be
to
given
that.
a clean
I was
chit
coming to
the
that.
way all of
So
that
you
has
see-
unfolded? And I'm asking you that question because for the last 10, 12 minutes, we have focused on the Navy. I would like to get in the other perspective, sir.
Maharashtra, I was about to say this, thanks for asking. Maharashtra Maritime Board is an particular agency or a board that issues license or you say an NOC certificate to such ferries to surface their boats into the sea and do their activities there. Now, number one, if you look up to the video that is floating on your own screen, we cannot make it clear that there were appropriate amount of life jackets on the boat. Who was there to inspect it? Number two, you would be shocked to know that this Maharashtra Maritime Board is actually headed by the ex-officio chairman of the ex-officio minister of the ports, and there is one secretary who is from the Navy. There are total 5 secretaries, and one secretary is itself from the Navy. So it is the individual and joint responsibility of everyone to see and inspect about that such activities, water activities that are being carried off in a particular area, are they governed safely? Are there certain norms that are regulated, that are drafted, and are these activities going on in nomenclature to this rules and regulation that are being drafted? Number two, a very peculiar and important thing herein. Whenever such incidents happen, for example, in Gujarat, a Morbi tragedy, bridge tragedy happened, which took away life of 135 people. Then Vadodara boat capsize tragedy happened, which again happened because of overloading of the boats and poor kids, approximately at the age of 8 to 10 years, they died. Now, see, whenever such tragedy happens, the primary responsibility of the state herein is to conduct a rescue operation, save people. I fail to understand, certainly, that with my limited years of practice, I fail to understand what hurry do the officers have that they so eminently and immediately register an offense against those people who have the minimal of the minimal of the minimal role. Whose responsibility was it to inspect from the Maharashtra Maritime Board? Who issued the NOC to this boat? This boat already is being seen in a precarious and a dilapidated condition. Whether was there some officer nominated from the Maritime Board to inspect upon this boat? No things clarified. And what certainly happens is, in Gujarat also similar thing happened, and here also similar thing has entered, that a probe is being ordered. In Gujarat, an SIT was being formulated after registration of an FIR. And here a probe is being ordered. Now you understand the effect of this.
No,
So far
very,
as
very
the
pertinent
nomenclature-
points. Ali Daruwala, do you want to come in? Look at what Utkarsh Dave has said. Here's the big question. Now, a lot of questions are being made. A lot of, inquiries are going to be ordered at several levels. But the simple thing is, this ferry seems to be in a dilapidated situation. This ferry obviously was flouting rules as well. And as I said, there are protocols of manifold levels that have been violated in this particular case, possibly at all levels, including the official level, possibly the Navy as well as the private ferry owners. But here we're talking about the permissions, the inspections that are supposed to happen. Where is it happening?
Exactly. Sneha, I've been listening. I've been listening to the Commodore, and he had a lot of technical things to say. And with due respect, his knowledge cannot be disputed. One thing I understand and I agree. See, as a BJP spokesperson over here, I may speak about the Navy, the lapses that has happened. But to support that, what I could see from the video that you have showed on your channel is the throttle. I think, and 110%, the new, the Navy captain who are being trained, or the pilot, or the whatever the navigators they are called, I feel the throttle was stuck over there. There was no proper people to guide this gentleman who was learning on this machine over there.
No, see,
It is
what
totally
you
the
are
lapse
saying
of the
is a
Navy.
matter of assumption, sir. We may assume what may have gone wrong, and you all have the right to do that. It's fair enough. But here's the question. We will get to know what happened, and we have the right to get to know what happened, particularly the families who have gone through this harrowing experience. We don't take it away from that. But I don't want insinuations at this point. A very simple question that both the panelists have asked. Where were the inspections that were supposed to be done? And as I said, there is no way that we are not asking the Navy the questions. But we're also asking the other side the questions as well. And that is important to drive the point.
Exactly. What happened? What this maritime board, what he said, there were people who are not competent and ministers relative and all that. It is totally humbug. The maritime board, I know for a fact, is doing a very good job. They have their checks and balances. What has gone wrong is that overloading of that private ferry that was there. Just 3 months back, if you remember, Sneha, what had happened in Goa, full of people, overcrowded, overloaded, just sunk into the sea, and lots of people, I guess some 40 to 70 people lost their life. Checks and balances need to be there. People need to be booked. You cannot take lives of people so easily. This needs to be done.
Whose responsibility is it?
The
Here's my
BMC
question.
and those
Whose
officials need to be
responsibility
roped
is
in.
it? Accidents after accidents. I mean, Ali Daruwala, let me just get in visuals at this point. If you can play those visuals. Today we had BMC officials hand out life jackets. If you can have those visuals. BMC officials went out and handed out life jackets. What is this optics?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Wholly and solely the administration is responsible. Administration is responsible for everybody's life over here. we cannot shrug our responsibilities. This was certain sectors that are neglected. The BMC, the Maritime Board, and the administration need to wake up, not wait for another big calamity to happen. I'm telling you, every citizen's life is very important. And now, since you've taken it up so fiercely on your prestigious channel, everybody will wake up, including me. We will ask questions, and this is not going to happen. And this was one sector which was neglected. They thought that nothing will happen. Everything is hunky-dory. It has time and again proven, no, things are not happening right. People are violating rules over here. Ferry owners are just to rake in money. They are doing whatever they need to do. Unless and until we book certain people, bring them to law and send them behind bars, these people are not going to wake up. I can assure you, Sneha ma'am, that things are going to start rolling. Heads will roll. Answers will be out. It has just happened at this point in time. We have rolled out 2 lakh rupees to the families of the people who have died, 50,000 to who they are injured. Though this is a very thing, we cannot replace the sorrow with this minimal amount. But here the government is trying to do, and we are very, very
life is
sincere,
gone.
and life is gone.
And nobody
100%.
questions the need of a compensation or a relief. That is necessary. Many of these would be breadwinners for their families. So that is definitely needed.
We cannot wipe the grief with 2 lakhs.
Compensation and reliefs happen accidents after accidents, mishaps after mishaps, tragedies after tragedies. India seems to be great at doling out these reliefs. As important as they are, India seems to be extremely weak at ensuring that these accidents don't happen again and again. I'm being told Commodore Rai, we've lost line with Commodore Rai, but Utkarsh Dave, if I can get you in. I mean, Ali Daruwala here on the show said that things will move. The government will do all it takes for a ministry, for a sector that they think now has been neglected for long. How do you look at this? As a petitioner who has been part of several such disasters, how do you look at what Ali Daruwala, the official spokesperson for BJP, has just said?
I took it very affirmative. I took it in very affirmative sense, but I may also tell you, I tell it with very grave importance to you today on your news channel, on your prestigious news channel, and that would be this wise. When a tragedy happened in Gujarat state, taking away life of 135 people, similarly, there were tickets on the tickets were sold in black to go on that bridge with no sign, nothing. People were saying that there are tickets sold in a gray way to go on that bridge. So that is another aspect. Let's not talk about it. But the concern is, I was telling you this and you stopped, that after registration of an FIR, understand this thing very gravely, sir, ma'am. After registration of an FIR, you enter into a probe. The government orders a probe. Let us understand that probe may be an SIT, a special investigation team established to scrutinize some event that has happened. Now, so far as law is concerned, one FIR, one charge sheet, what relevance will that probe or that SIT have in trial? 0%. Even if that SIT report says this person is responsible and one person is charge sheeted, that SIT doesn't have any relevance in trial.
Why?
So that is the question, that why do these people
has no role and no relevance?
in so much hurry that the big fishes are being left off?
Here's my question, Mr. Dave. Why does an SIT and its findings not have relevance to the findings and the arguments in the court? I don't understand that.
That you may ask to all the people who are from representing the government from your side, that what is the hurry they have in registering an FIR so eminently in hurriedly that they register an FIR on small fishes and sharks have been left off. For example, I'll tell you something very importantly.
Ali
in Vadodara,
Daruwala,
when tragedy happened,
Ali Daruwala, please
Gujarat
respond.
High Court took the PIL and 2 collectors
Daruwala, please
from
respond.
Vadodara are facing disciplinary inquiry now. So it is only
Ali
after
Daruwala,
the
please
judiciary intervening and
respond.
then you are taking
I mean, there's an
cognizance.
FIR which will be filed, there will be action taken and so on and so forth, but it's just the fish at the ground here. Even in this particular case, there will not be the big sharks that will be, action against them. Is that how you look at this, Mr. Daruwala?
No, that's why I'm coming to it, Sneha. He's saying big sharks, and I was just not understanding, what does he mean by big sharks? Is there some scam that is happening over here? Are we doing some misappropriation of funds? Accident has happened. A ferry owner who runs a business for the greed of money.
That's not the point.
Is overloading.
I'll explain to you, Ali Daruwala. And, we're going to have a show in a short while from now at 7:30 to our viewers. If you want to see what's been the trail for this travesty of justice and disaster after disaster striking just the unassuming Indians who may be having a frolicking time, enjoying themselves with their family, series of them in the past, and how this plays out time and again. That's the show to watch at 7:30 with my colleague Ashish Parekh. But coming back to you, Ali Daruwala, here's my thing, and what Utkarsh Dave was saying at this point, that, I mean, look at the unaccounted tickets. Tickets without any stamp, tickets without any time, tickets mentioning nothing being sold to people. Overcrowding on the ships. This can't be just because of so-called quote-unquote pawns on the ground. This can't be because of them. There's obviously been oversight, you may say criminal or non-criminal or whatsoever, by people in the top hierarchies as well. But obviously the FIR is not going to see them face the action. And I mean, I don't have Commodore with me. I think I would have asked the same question of Navy as well, but to you, for what the government can do.
Sneha, I'm saying heads will roll. Things were neglected. Things went unnoticed over here. There's such ferries. There's people doing this unethical business, or would say unadhikrit. That's what we call in Maharashtra. We will be nailed. They will be stopped. This cannot happen. I am speaking, and I'm speaking from my heart. This cannot go on. We cannot wait on this time bomb for people to sink and die. When then later, as you said, life jackets being handed over. No, this is not done. This is what the government is. This is not what we educated people are wasting our time and coming in politics so that we can bring the change. Over here, there are big fishes, small fishes.
All right.
Is there a scandal?
Okay.
No, nothing. This is not
2024, and we're still talking about the change, yet waiting to see it. But Ali Daruwala, taking you at the face value of what you have said, big claims. We'll wait to see how the steps really roll beyond just the visible optics of how life jackets were handed over by the BMC today. I'm sure that's not what you are referring to. We're totally out of time, but let's just remember this. All of this has unfolded at one of India's busiest maritime hubs. Ali Daruwala as well as Utkarsh Dave, thank you very much for your time. Thank you so much. It's time for a very short break. On the other side, news and updates.